If I told you that I was in Sydney just for a wedding, you'd obviously not believe me, and I wouldn't be telling the truth. Let's be honest, the main reason why I was there was to go ahead and waste more money shooting film, and I thought, what's the best way to do that? Well, how about shoot an entire box of 4x5 and make the internet angry? And that's what I decided to do. You are not going to see much sun on this Sydney trip. For the most of the time that we were there, it was pretty cloudy like this, if not worse. And by the time the wedding was over, the good weather had gone, of which there was little. But later on, I'll point out why going ahead and shooting 4x5 as sheet film, and the way that I did, might actually have been a benefit in this situation.
Not actually firing on anything, I've got the dark slide in.
And if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't care about wasting film, I would not have taken this photo because it was obvious that there wasn't going to be a good photo. But hey, this is what I got. Afterwards, we took a little wee hike and we crossed the bridge, and I took a few photos that were on my other camera. You can see those on this video that I am linking right now. One of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and shoot 4x5 as sheet film is because as sheet film, I can go ahead and store it in different boxes. And that was really helpful for the scene that was in front of me, because by the time I got over there, it was extremely dark and I didn't want to use a tripod, which I'd used earlier, which meant that I needed to adjust my ISO. Now, if you know anything about film, you can't actually adjust the ISO of the film, but you can overdevelop the film to make it appear as if it is a higher ISO film stock. And HP5 is brilliant for this. So that's what I did. I shot these two photos at, I think, 1600 ISO. And then when I got back to New Zealand, I developed them. Now, are they great photos? No. Does it prove that you can go ahead and do this? Yes. Would you probably want to use a better camera system than the one that I had to make sure that you actually nail focus? Also yes.
The hotel is opening.
So after we got back to the hotel, I decided to head back out because I had more to photograph and I had a particular image that I wanted to get. And this is probably the best photo from this entire box. I think this is actually what I should be shooting most of the time when I'm shooting 4x5. This kind of photography. I feel like it's conducive to the camera setup that I have. My 4x5 camera is not necessarily great for doing portraiture, but something like this is more akin to what it's actually good at emphasizing. And I'm quite happy with the results that I got here. So I have to let you know right now, I fucked up when I was developing the film at home. I took the top of my tank off. I don't know why. I was just, I guess, tired and exhausted. And I fucked up some of the photos by giving them some very nasty light leaks. So the next several photos that I show you are ruined. But I still think you'll get the gist, so let's continue.
There's a YouTube tutorial and there's
You know, none of these photos that I'm showing you right now are particularly good, and part of that is to do with the fact that I don't actually like this camera setup. It's cool in terms of the fact that I can get higher resolution photos. It's definitely not the highest hit rate when it comes to cameras that I own in terms of how they naturally work for me and how they work in the environment in a way that I like. But that being said, the great thing about 4x5 is you can go ahead and zoom in and make it more an image that you want. And you can also make some people mad on the internet for doing so. So hear me out for a second before you really get mad by this point in the video that I'm wasting so much film. The benefit to this experiment was to see that when you're traveling, if you wanted really high resolution photos, and for example, you wanted to go ahead and shoot multiple different ISOs in a situation, like I mentioned earlier, and develop them, having more than one box and being able to go ahead and put your 1600 ISO in one box, your 800 in another, or your 400 in another, might be really handy and allow you to shoot different situations and get the film developed best as it can be. And the reason why you'd want to go ahead and develop all your film at different ISOs is so that you can get a higher quality development. Now, yes, you could go ahead and do stand development and shoot at different variable ISOs. And for those that don't know what stand development is, in very simple terms, it's this. When you stand develop, you shake your Patterson tank for about 60 seconds. So you do a bunch of agitation and then you let it sit. And then essentially, because the film sits and stays there and doesn't move much, and because the chemical reactions slow down as there's not much change in what's touching the negative at the time, you go ahead and you get developed highlights and quite well developed shadows for those shadows that were potentially underdeveloped, allowing you to go ahead and develop at different ISOs. The downside to this is overall quality and also using Rodinal. Now, some people like Rodinal, and I find it an okay developer. And it's great for long shelf life. But the fact is, it doesn't have the nicest grain, it induces certain characteristics, and adding on to that, when you go ahead and use stand development, you potentially get issues like I got recently, where I got undeveloped or lower developed on one side and higher developed on another, as the developer was probably not as even in terms of this in the solution as I wanted. And you can also get things such as bromide drag as well. And I didn't want that. I wanted higher quality photos. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to have your sheet film separated into different boxes and then you develop them separately in one-shot solutions with a high-quality developer of your choice. Now, I don't have the highest quality developer, but I think LC29 produces nicer negatives than Rodinal. And that's what I went ahead and did. I just compensated my developer time for 1600 ISO when I pushed it up a few stops. And then at the same time, I could develop separate sheets at 400 ISO and they were developed correctly. And the contrast was much more conducive by doing that. And one of the reasons why I am liking this methodology is the fact that I like to go ahead and shoot handheld with this large format camera because for me it's a travel camera. But this would also go for anyone using any form of large format camera. Because of the type of large format camera that it is, with me not being able to see what's in focus, I need to go ahead and shoot deep focus, which means that I'm doing your higher f-stop numbers, f32, f64, f45, etc., just to make sure everything's in focus. And by being able to push my sheet of film means that I can go ahead and essentially shoot at a higher ISO, which means that those larger f-stop numbers I am more likely to be able to achieve in the lighting conditions that were presented to me. And that meant that I could go ahead and take a shitty handheld photo like this. Or I could go ahead and take shitty touristy photos like this. Now, I do think these are partly shitty just simply because the fact that I caused those really bad light leaks, but hey, they're probably still shitty anyway. So I've been promoting a different way to shoot 4x5 than what has been done in the past. You could call it unorthodox. And the funny thing is, the times that I shoot closest to orthodox are probably the times where I feel that the photographs are actually the best. I like to go ahead and shoot nighttime photos with this camera, as I've previously mentioned. And here you can go ahead and see what I mean. I much prefer these photos. There is a fair amount of dark space in them, but again, that's just the lens choice. I still prefer this photo than any of the photos where I was pretty much walking out and about. So take that as you will.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi, 11 Mississippi, 12 Mississippi.
Now, after being up late, I decided to get up really early in the morning for a beautiful sunrise shot on the only day that it was going to go ahead and be sunny. And it turned out that it was the perfect time of the year to go a photo with the Opera House. And yes, I am being a cliche because that is what most photography is. Let's be honest. Now, this is supposed to be me shooting a box of HP5. But I did have 2 sheets of color film on me that I had forgotten about from another project, and they were still available for me to use as I had not shot them. And I thought I would go ahead and red scale them as a prep for another project. And of course I didn't want to shoot black and white sunset shots, so you're going to see some color shots in just a moment. And one of them I shot the night before, and it's kind of cool. It's not great, but it's kind of cool. Getting up so early in the morning is such a pain for me these days. However, this shot here is totally the reason why it's worth it. This is where I think red scale shines. I've used red scale before in other photos, in particular morning sunrise shots is where I think it is most conducive. Red scale just brings atmosphere and vibes for sunrises, whereas black and white obviously would not have done so. I only had a few sheets left and I needed them for later on in the day. So it was still a beautiful morning and I had some 35mm left in both of my cameras, both my slide film camera, which is my little point and shoot, and some classic color 200, which Lomography had given to me to test. And I just continued walking back to the hotel and take a few sunrise photos, none of which were particularly that good. But again, it doesn't really matter. As I've mentioned earlier, the weather was terrible for pretty much most of this trip. It was cloudy and shit for almost the entire time that we were in Sydney. Now, of course, it had to be that the very last day that we were in Sydney, when it had been cloudy for all the other days before, it was sunny. So we had to make the most of the day, but unfortunately, I'd already agreed to go to the zoo, so that's what we were going to do. And maybe I could go ahead and take a Harambe type photo, which I was hoping to do. So that's what we did. We traveled over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. We finally made it to the zoo after about a 45-minute drive. And we just walked about and I took a few photos on my point and shoot and just basically stuck to not taking good photographs, but taking memories. And one of the things that I think photographers forget is that first and foremost, photography is about documentation, and sometimes it's just about capturing life. And sometimes it's okay to not take fancy photos, and that's what we did. Whilst we were just here at the zoo, I'm not focused on trying to get the most perfect shot and putting all my energy into it. I was just having a bit of fun on my point and shoot, and I got some cool little photos of animals. But at the same time, with my 4x5 camera, I did get this Harambe style photo. So you've seen my little experimentation with shooting an entire box of 4x5 film in one sitting. And you might think that's a bit of a waste. And to be fair, any photo that I take is probably a waste. But it's actually not that expensive when it comes down to it. It was 120 New Zealand dollars for this box of 4x5. And when I get it developed, which is me developing it myself, it's really not that expensive because it's just paying for the box. And the developer is only adding on a cost of maybe a couple of dollars. Whereas with my 120 film, if I was taking the same amount of photos, that would probably be around $40. Okay, maybe the maths isn't mathing up, but still, it's not actually that inexpensive method if you are going ahead and traveling. And you do get the benefit of the fact that 4x5 is a fair degree of higher resolution than 120, and you don't have to do what I did, which is shoot a 3D printed camera. You can just use a regular 4x5 camera and just shoot an entire box of film, because if you develop it yourself, it pretty much saves you so much money. Like, that's really where the real cost is when it goes to actually shooting film. So, with all that rambling in mind, this has probably pissed off a few people, and I'm going to probably see some angry comments in the comment section if anyone actually cares to watch the video. So, as always, it's been real, guys. Until next time. And now, just a reminder, I have the Lomography F2 competition running at the moment. It is open till the end of July 2026. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel and comment Lomo F2 on any of my videos, and you will go into the competition for the role. You can find out more about the role on my Lomo F2 video. So enter the competition and go ahead and potentially win yourself a role. As always, it's been real, guys. Until next time.